Round 9, Madison Square Garden, March 8, 1971. Muhammad Ali had Joe Frazier exactly where he wanted him. One more combination would end it. But then Ali did something nobody in boxing history had ever done. He stopped attacking. What Frazier whispered in that moment would stay secret for 45 years until his son revealed it at Ali's funeral. If this story of hidden compassion moves you, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, telling us about a time when you chose mercy over victory. Now let's dive into one of the most beautiful secrets in sports history. It was called the Fight of the Century, and everything about it was massive. 20,455 people packed into Madison Square Garden. Another 300 million watching worldwide on closed-circuit television. The largest purse in boxing history, $2.5 million for each fighter. But the real weight of that night wasn't measured in dollars or viewers. It was measured in what two men carried into that ring. Muhammad Ali was 29 years old and fighting for his life. Not just his boxing life, his actual life. 3.5 years earlier, he'd refused induction into the U.S. Army, citing his religious beliefs and opposition to the Vietnam War. The government had stripped him of his heavyweight title, banned him from boxing, and tried to send him to prison. He'd fought that battle all the way to the Supreme Court, but the damage was done. His prime years, ages 25 to 28, were stolen from him. Now at 29, he was trying to reclaim what had been taken. But Ali wasn't just fighting for himself. He was carrying the hopes of everyone who'd opposed the war, everyone who'd stood up to injustice, everyone who believed that principle mattered more than popularity. The pressure was crushing. If Ali lost, his critics would say his stance on Vietnam had been cowardly. They'd say he'd lost his edge, that the layoff had destroyed him. Everything he'd sacrificed would seem meaningless. Joe Frazier carried a different kind of weight. He was 27 years old and the official heavyweight champion, but he lived in Ali's shadow. While Ali had been banned, Frazier had fought his way to the title legitimately, beating the best fighters available. But Ali had never stopped calling himself the people's champion. He'd never acknowledged Frazier's legitimacy. Worse, Ali had spent months before the fight mocking Frazier, calling him ignorant, calling him an Uncle Tom, even calling him a gorilla. The insults weren't just offensive, they were designed to dehumanize Frazier, to make him seem less than. For Frazier, this fight was about respect, about proving he was a real champion, about showing his children, 3 of whom were sitting ringside, that their father was a man who couldn't be broken by words or punches. His 11-year-old son Marvis was in the 3rd row, watching his hero father face the most famous athlete in the world. The first 8 rounds were war. Both men were fighting with everything they had. Ali was faster, more skilled, dancing and jabbing, making Frazier miss. But Frazier was relentless, walking through Ali's punches, landing devastating body shots and hooks. Neither man was clearly winning. It was exactly the kind of close, brutal fight that could be decided by one moment, one punch, one round. But something was happening to Joe Frazier that only a few people noticed. His left eye was swelling, badly. In round 7, Ali had landed a sharp right hand directly on Frazier's orbital bone. The eye had immediately begun to close. By the end of round 8, Frazier could barely see out of it. Between rounds, the ring doctor examined Frazier's eye and had a quiet conversation with Eddie Futch, Frazier's legendary cornerman. "One more solid shot to that eye," the doctor said, his voice low so the crowd couldn't hear. "And I'm stopping this fight. His orbital bone is compromised. Another impact could cause permanent damage." Frazier heard every word. His heart sank. He'd trained for months for this moment. His children were watching. The whole world was watching. And now a doctor was talking about stopping the fight because of his eye. As the bell rang for round 9, Frazier pulled himself off the stool and walked to the center of the ring. His legs were tired. His eye was nearly swollen shut. But he wasn't going to quit. He was going to make Ali stop him. Muhammad Ali came out for round 9 with renewed energy. He could see Frazier's damaged eye. Angelo Dundee, Ali's brilliant cornerman, had seen it too. As Ali stood to leave the corner, Dundee grabbed his arm and gave him clear instructions. "Left hook to that eye," Dundee said urgently. "He can't see it coming. One clean shot and this fight is over. Finish him, champ." Ali nodded. He knew exactly what he had to do. In boxing, when your opponent has a compromised eye, you attack it mercilessly. It's not cruelty, it's strategy. It's how you win fights. And Ali needed to win this fight more than he'd ever needed anything. Round 9 began, and Ali started setting up his attack. He circled to his right, away from Frazier's good eye, forcing Frazier to turn and search for him. Frazier, game as always, kept coming forward, but Ali could see he was struggling. The bad eye was betraying him. Frazier was leaving openings, dropping his left hand, exposing the damaged side of his face. 1 minute into the round, Ali saw his opportunity. Frazier threw a wild left hook that missed badly, and the momentum spun him slightly off balance. For just a moment, Frazier's damaged eye was completely exposed. Ali was in perfect position. His left hand was cocked, loaded, ready to deliver the finishing blow. It was the same left hook that had knocked out dozens of opponents, the same punch that had made him famous. But in that split second, something happened that changed everything. Joe Frazier looked up at Muhammad Ali through his one good eye. In the chaos of 20,000 screaming fans, in the middle of the biggest fight of their lives, Joe Frazier said something so quiet that only Ali could hear it. "My kids, man." Frazier's voice cracked, barely audible above the roar. "They're right there. Front row. Don't let them see me get stopped, please." Time seemed to freeze. Ali's fist was already in motion, his body already committed to the punch. But something in Frazier's voice, not fear but desperation, the plea of a father who didn't want his children to see him humiliated, made Ali hesitate. For just a fraction of a second, Muhammad Ali looked past Frazier into the crowd. 3 rows back, he saw them. Joe Frazier's children. The oldest couldn't have been more than 11. They were on their feet, screaming for their father, their small faces filled with pride and terror. Watching this man they loved more than anything get hurt by the most famous man in the world. Ali's punch landed, but not where it was supposed to. Instead of the devastating left hook to Frazier's damaged eye, Ali pulled it at the last microsecond and hit Frazier's shoulder. It was such a subtle adjustment that almost nobody in the arena noticed. But it was there. Frame-by-frame analysis years later would confirm it. Muhammad Ali, in the most important fight of his life, intentionally pulled his most dangerous punch. What happened in Ali's mind in that moment is something only he could fully understand. Here's what we know he was thinking about. He needed this win desperately. His career depended on it. His financial future depended on it. His legacy depended on it. He'd sacrificed 3.5 years of his prime for his principles. He'd been stripped of his title, banned from his profession, vilified by half the country. This fight was his chance to prove it had all been worth it. One punch to Frazier's damaged eye would end it. He'd be vindicated. He'd be champion again. But then there were those children. 3 little kids watching their father fight the most important fight of his life. Ali thought about his own childhood, about watching his heroes, about what it meant to see someone you love get destroyed in front of you. He thought about all the times he'd been called names, humiliated, dehumanized. He knew what it felt like to have your dignity stripped away. And in that impossible moment, Muhammad Ali made a choice that would cost him everything. For the remaining 2 minutes and 47 seconds of round 9, Ali changed his strategy completely. He stopped attacking Frazier's eye. Instead, he threw body shots. He danced away. He made it look competitive, but avoided the one punch that would have ended the fight. Angelo Dundee was screaming from the corner, confused and furious. "What are you doing?" Dundee shouted. "Take him out!" "He's hurt." But Ali didn't take him out. He gave Joe Frazier time to recover, time to survive the round, time to keep fighting in front of his children with his dignity intact. The bell rang, ending round 9, and both men returned to their corners. Frazier's eye was still damaged, but the crisis had passed. The ring doctor examined him again and decided he could continue. Eddie Futch looked at his fighter with amazement. Somehow, impossibly, Frazier had survived the round when he should have been finished. The fight continued for 6 more brutal rounds. In round 15, Joe Frazier landed one of the most famous punches in boxing history, a devastating left hook that knocked Ali flat on his back. Ali got up and finished the fight, but when the scorecards were read, Joe Frazier had won by unanimous decision. Muhammad Ali had lost his first professional defeat. His comeback had failed. The critics pounced immediately. They said Ali had lost his edge during the layoff. They said he'd been exposed as overrated. They questioned whether his stance on Vietnam had been worth it. They said he'd never be the same. At the post-fight press conference, a reporter asked the question that was on everyone's mind. Ali, you had Frazier hurt in round 9. His eye was damaged. Why didn't you finish him? Ali, his face swollen and bruised, managed a tired smile. Joe Frazier is a warrior. You can't finish a warrior that easy. He's a champion. He proved it tonight. Nobody understood what Ali really meant. Nobody knew about the whisper, about the children, about the choice that had changed the fight. In his dressing room, Angelo Dundee confronted Ali privately. You threw that fight away in round 9, Dundee said, his voice a mixture of confusion and frustration. You had him. I've been in your corner for years. I know when you're going for the kill. You weren't. Why? Ali looked at his longtime friend and cornerman. I didn't throw anything away, Angelo. I made a choice that cost you everything. Ali was quiet for a long moment, then said something that Dundee would remember for the rest of his life. Maybe I lost the fight, but maybe I won something more important. Dundee didn't understand. Not then. Not for years. What nobody knew was that after the fight, long after the press had left, long after the arena had emptied, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier had a private moment in the hallway between their dressing rooms. Frazier, his face battered, his eyes swollen completely shut, approached Ali. Thank you, Frazier said quietly, for round 9. Ali looked at him and said just 3 words. We're even now. And they were. Ali had given Frazier something more valuable than a victory. He'd given him his dignity. In return, Frazier had given Ali something to stand for beyond controversy and principle. He'd given him a chance to show mercy in the middle of war. But they made an agreement that night. They would never speak about round 9 publicly. The world didn't need to know. It was between them. Between 2 warriors who understood that some things matter more than winning. For the next 45 years, that secret stayed buried. Ali and Frazier fought 2 more times. Ali won both, including the legendary Thrilla in Manila in 1975, one of the most brutal fights in history. Publicly, they maintained a complicated relationship. Frazier often spoke bitterly about Ali's pre-fight insults, but those who knew them well noticed something else, a deep, unspoken respect. In 2002, when both men were in their 60s, Ali struggling with Parkinson's disease, Frazier dealing with his own health issues, they met privately at Ali's home in Michigan. There were no cameras, no reporters, just 2 old warriors, their fighting days long behind them, their bodies broken by the sport they'd given everything to. They talked about their fights, about their families, about their regrets, and they talked about round 9. Frazier thanked Ali again, properly this time, for giving him that gift decades earlier. Ali, his speech slowed by Parkinson's, his hands trembling, managed to communicate what he'd always wanted Frazier to know. You would have done the same for me, Frazier smiled. Maybe, but you did it first. In November 2011, Joe Frazier died of liver cancer at age 67. Muhammad Ali, too ill to travel, released a statement. The world lost a great champion. I lost a brother. Most people assumed it was a standard condolence. They didn't understand the depth of that word, brother. But the full truth of round 9 would remain hidden until June 10th, 2016, when Muhammad Ali himself passed away at age 74. At Ali's funeral in Louisville, Kentucky, more than 15,000 people gathered to honor the legend. Former President Bill Clinton spoke. Comedian Billy Crystal spoke. Boxing champions from around the world paid tribute. But the most powerful moment came when Marvis Frazier, Joe's son, took the microphone. He was 56 years old now, no longer that scared 11-year-old boy watching his father fight for his life. He looked out at the massive crowd and said something that nobody expected. I want to tell you something about Muhammad Ali that nobody knows, Marvis began, his voice steady but emotional. Something my father made me promise not to reveal until both men were gone. March 8, 1971. I was 11 years old, sitting ringside at Madison Square Garden with my brothers and sister, watching my father fight Muhammad Ali. The crowd was silent, sensing something important was coming. Round 9, Marvis continued. My father's eye was badly damaged. He was hurt. Ali had him right where he wanted him. I was 11 years old and I was terrified. I thought I was about to watch my father get knocked out in front of the world. My father looked at Ali and said something. I couldn't hear it from where I was sitting, but I saw Ali's face change. I saw his punch pull back. People in the audience were leaning forward now, completely focused. For years, I didn't understand what happened. The media said Ali got tired. They said he lost his killer instinct. But in 2011, when my father was dying, he told me the truth. He had begged Ali, my kids are watching. Don't let them see me get stopped. And Muhammad Ali, this man the media painted as arrogant and selfish, made a choice that would cost him everything. He pulled his punches for the rest of that round. He gave my father time to recover. He gave my father the dignity of losing on his feet, not on his back. Tears were streaming down Marvis's face now, and he wasn't alone. Throughout the massive arena, people were crying openly. Ali lost that fight, Marvis said, lost his undefeated record, lost millions of dollars in future earnings, lost the mystique of invincibility. But he gained something more important. He gained my father's respect. He gained a brother. He proved that even in the most brutal sport in the world, there's room for mercy. Marvis paused, looking at Ali's casket draped in white cloth. My father and Ali fought 3 wars in the ring, but in round 9 of their first fight, they showed us something more powerful than violence. They showed us humanity. Muhammad Ali wasn't just the greatest because of his skills. He was the greatest because in the moment when he had every reason to be ruthless, he chose to be human. That's the man we're honoring today. Not just the champion, but the man who knew that some victories aren't worth the cost. When Marvis finished speaking, there was a moment of profound silence, and then the entire arena erupted in applause. But it wasn't the kind of applause you hear at sporting events. It was the sound of thousands of people having their understanding of greatness fundamentally changed. In the days after Ali's funeral, Marvis Frazier's revelation became international news. Sports historians went back and analyzed the footage of round 9 frame by frame, and they found it. The moment when Ali's left hook, already in motion, changed trajectory at the last microsecond. Biomechanics experts confirmed what Marvis had said. It was physically impossible for that punch to change direction accidentally. Muhammad Ali had deliberately pulled the most important punch of his career. Arthur Mercante, the referee who'd worked that fight and was still alive at 95, gave an interview confirming what he'd witnessed. I was 3 feet away, Mercante said. I saw Ali's face when Frazier said something to him. I saw the punch change. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. I witnessed the most remarkable act of sportsmanship I've ever seen. The story transformed how people understood Muhammad Ali. Yes, he was a great boxer. Yes, he was a cultural icon and a civil rights hero. But round 9 revealed something deeper. Ali understood that true strength isn't just about winning. It's about knowing when not to use your full power. It's about recognizing the humanity in your opponent, even in the middle of war. Today, the story of round 9 has become legendary. The Boxing Hall of Fame created the Round 9 Award for sportsmanship, given annually to fighters who demonstrate mercy and respect in the ring. Medical experts have confirmed that Ali's decision likely saved Frazier from permanent blindness. The kind of eye injury Ali was positioned to inflict could have shattered Frazier's orbital bone and caused irreversible damage. But beyond the awards and analysis, round 9 teaches us something universal about what it means to be truly great. Muhammad Ali had every reason to destroy Joe Frazier that night. Frazier had questioned his courage, mocked his principles, taken the title that should have been his. Ali needed to win. His career, his finances, his legacy, everything depended on it. But in the moment of truth, Ali chose compassion over victory. He chose to see Joe Frazier not as an opponent to be destroyed, but as a father trying to remain a hero to his children. And in making that choice, Ali lost the fight, but won something far more valuable. He proved that greatness isn't just about what you can do. It's about what you choose not to do when you have all the power. Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali fought 3 times in the ring. They gave each other brain damage, broken bones, and permanent physical trauma. But in round 9 of their first fight, They gave each other something else. Proof that even in the most violent sport in the world, there's room for mercy. That even bitter enemies can become brothers. That the strongest punch is sometimes the one you don't throw. The referee's hands were shaking when he raised Joe Frazier's arm in victory that night in 1971. But Muhammad Ali's hands were steady. He knew what he'd done. He knew what he'd sacrificed. And he knew it had been worth it. 45 years later at Ali's funeral, when Marvis Frazier finally told the world what his father and Ali had kept secret for decades, those same hands, the hands that had pulled the most important punch in boxing history, were at rest. But their legacy was just beginning. Because the story of round 9 isn't really about boxing. It's about the moment when victory becomes less important than humanity. It's about choosing mercy when you have every right to be merciless. It's about understanding that some fights are won by not fighting. That's what made Muhammad Ali the greatest. Not his speed, not his power, not his record, but his understanding that true champions know when to be ruthless and when to be human, and that sometimes being human is the hardest fight of all. The round Muhammad Ali refused to fight became the round that defined his greatness. And somewhere, in whatever place great warriors go when their fighting days are done, two old friends are finally at peace, bound together by a secret that took 45 years to tell, but will be remembered forever. Some victories aren't worth the cost. Some fights are won by not fighting. And sometimes the greatest act of strength is pulling your punch when you have every reason to throw it. That's the truth Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier taught us in round 9. That's the lesson that transcends boxing, transcends sports, transcends everything. It's the lesson of what it really means to be great. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. Have you ever chosen mercy over victory? Have you ever pulled your punch when you had every reason to throw it? Share your round 9 moment below.